Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Nancy SHOWALTER. She is a certified law of attraction life coach and spiritual mentor. Nancy is the author of It's Okay to Be Rich, the Entrepreneur's Guide to Increased Wealth and Personal Mastery. She's been endorsed by Harv Eker, and she's the host of Spirituality for the Politically Incorrect podcast. I love that, Nancy, because I think sometimes that spirituality makes us very politically incorrect. So that sounds like a great show. For more than 30 years, Nancy has mentored and coached individuals and groups, including conducting seminars, conferences, and leadership training in the United States, Canada, Latin America, and Europe. She hosted a 26-day video tele-summit with 26 experts in personal development and was co-host of the worldwide Prophets for the New Age radio show. Nancy currently speaks, conducts seminars, and does client coaching and mentoring. She brings creativity and a unique integrated perspective to her clients and audiences who find her coaching and presentations to be both practical and personally transforming. I like the practical aspect.
Right, very important.
She has a Bachelor of Arts degree from Western Illinois University in liberal arts with a concentration in peace and conflict resolution, including traveling in the Middle East, Egypt, Israel, Gaza, and the Golan Heights, meeting and discoursing with Israelis and Palestinians on their perspective and hopes and dreams for a peaceful future. Wow, Nancy, that's quite a background you have.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much. I'm very, very happy to be here today.
Well, I'm excited because we're going to take a deep dive into how to step into the larger dimension of yourself. And I think it's interesting because I actually am a reverend. Many people don't know that, but I'm a reverend at Angel Ministries in my hometown. And yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I spoke about the stories we tell ourselves, because I'm let's just say I'm kind of a reluctant spiritual person, because I never sought out this path or this higher consciousness. However, I keep finding myself on a spiritual journey more and more. And I'm, kind of feel like I'm just along for the ride. So I'm really interested in this topic. So tell me more about how do we step into this larger dimension of ourselves and connect with that infinite divine presence?
Well, Tammy, it all begins with knowing who you are and where you came from, and where you're going, the big question that everybody has in life, right? So I like to take it right from the spiritual perspective. I've studied a number of the world's religions. I was raised in the Roman Catholic faith, was very devout, almost went to the convent when I was very young, but didn't. But looking in the Judeo-Christian heritage, we see where the scriptures say we were made in the image and likeness of God. So there is a portion of us that the source, God, all that is, whatever term you want to use, it really doesn't matter, because this source individualizes itself by speaking the word. It also says, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. So when you speak the word, and these two words that we're going to talk about, when the source says, I am, then an individualized portion of itself comes forth, and that is you and me. And as a spiritual being, that portion of ourself is made in the image and likeness of God. It comes from the source, because there is only one source. Science talks about everything being energy. Religion tends to talk about God being light, and we know all is energy. So we have the spoken word, and even in the scripture, it talks about how God created even the physical world. He spoke, let there be light, and there was light. So the spoken word is very, very important. And so as a divine being that comes forth with this divine part of ourself, we manifest ourselves in the spiritual realm for a long time, and then we can choose to come to the physical dimension to experience in the individualization of these God qualities that we were uniquely created, because every creation is unique. So you have that portion of yourself, that I am presence, that stays, of course, in spirit. And then the soul, the individualized, the soul comes forth into matter. And we have this physical dimension. And so we want now, once we're down here where we have a limited perspective, everything seems separate down here. We're all separate. You know, it's a real hodgepodge at this point, and we have to navigate that. But we were given dominion over this earth. We were given free will. And so we had free will to come here originally, and we have free will as to how we use that flow of energy from our God self. So you see, opening up to a higher dimension of yourself is understanding that there's more to you. It's like the iceberg. We're the tip of the iceberg that we see here, but there's really so much more behind us. And that is us, literally made in that image and likeness of the divine. And so understanding that helps us to open up to a greater understanding of who we are and what the power that resides within us. The kingdom of heaven's within you. We've heard those words too. So that is what I mean by opening up and bringing forth that part of you that was made in the image and likeness of the divine and manifesting that in the physical world.
So you said the two words, and were the two words I am or you and me?
I am.
I am.
Think about this. There's no other creation on this earth that can actually say, I am, and have awareness of self. You know, animals can be very intelligent. They can learn so many things, but they're always subject to their nature. I am signifies conscious awareness of who you are. And you also can choose to be something different. We can choose to be something different than what we are today. We may be in a certain consciousness or certain situation. We can choose to change our situation. We can choose to improve ourselves. We can choose to grow. And so this is, the words I am are more than just words that we say all day, more than just an affirmation or a declaration. These words, no matter when you say them, you are calling forth that divine portion of yourself to create in this dimension. So if you say I am with negative things after it, you're calling on your divine self to create that condition, because we are creators. We are given dominion over this earth. So we govern here. We're the little gods of this little world. And that's why sometimes people say, oh, well, why does God let that happen to so-and-so or whatever? Well, in reality, we're the little gods in this dimension. We create our life. We create it jointly, individually, collectively, what we have here. And so we have that constant stream of energy from our God presence that is always in the highest of spiritual realms. And we have a choice as to how we use that energy. We can misqualify it, if you want to use that term, by taking it and being angry, being hateful, hurting someone else. These are all not such productive uses, but we're responsible for those uses. The law of cause and effect. We know that, for every cause, every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. What you sow, you reap. There's all this understanding of this. So we have free will. We can use this energy, and this energy, we can use it constructively or we can use it destructively. And we're accountable for all of that. So the words I am are extremely powerful. So we don't even want to be decreeing that, I am some limited condition. So our words are important. Yeah. And the word is a creative force in the physical universe, as well as our thoughts, our feelings, all aspects of ourself. And we're constantly putting out frequency to the universe. And what we're putting out is what we draw back to ourselves. So it's that
the law of attraction comes
exactly,
and all of those things. So you said a lot of really important things with the power of I am and our feelings, our emotions, and again, it goes back to the everything is energy. But you said something about manifesting, and it's interesting because I actually did an interview last week about names and about how different letter sounds they help somebody do more manifesting. And so I think that's interesting in itself. So what would your advice be to someone? Because again, we're living in this, I don't know, all I know is right now I feel like I'm living in someone else's reality show and I'm bombarded with negative stuff all the time. And it's very difficult some days to be in my own strength of who I am because of all of this negative stuff coming at me. Do you have any advice for people living in the world today about how to best manifest the positive that we all want in our life? I know you wrote the book, It's Okay to Be Rich. I mean, that's one of the biggest issues that many people run into is that relationship with money and their negative feelings they associate with it. And so they just cut themselves off when the money isn't negative at all. Money can give you a lot of really positive things in your life. So I probably got myself off track there, but how do you navigate in the world today when we're bombarded with so much negativity?
Right. That's a very important question. My recommendation to everyone is you need to truly connect with that part of yourself, that higher part. Now, traditionally, one of the easiest ways is meditation or prayer and such, but that's not the only way. Many people can walk out in nature and feel like they transcend who they are here in the physical. And that's just a very high experience for them. And they open up to their greater mind, which is, beyond the intellect, and opening up to this higher part. Meditating, if you were to take time to be quiet, meditate, and drop into your heart, let your consciousness from your brain, your head, we think all the time, we're thinking, and let that energy, I like to think of it as like you can visualize a drop of water from your brain to falling to a pool of water in your heart. The idea here is to learn the vibration of this part of yourself. become so familiar with it that you can be in that vibration anytime, all the time. You don't have to be meditating. You don't have to be out in nature. You don't have to be doing certain prayers or, whatever. You can be in that vibration by intention, by choice, by will. And it's very important. The more that you run into trauma or situations in the world, that you do drop into that space so that you can respond to these situations without reacting, without being affected. And here's the mental shift that's so important in the world today, anytime. And that is, you must know without a doubt that the power in you is greater than any power outside of you. When you know that, then you're not going to fall into a victim consciousness, a victimhood. No matter what your circumstances are, you have to know that, because it's a little bit like in the scriptures where Jesus said, well, the prince of this world cometh, but he has nothing in me. Meaning there's nothing in us. We don't want any negative vibration or whatever in us that negative force in the world can tie into and trigger us. Like our hot buttons, they say, oh, you pushed my button, so it's your fault. Well, no, we really want to heal and transmute and change those buttons. We want to be able to and that's an important point as to how people use this understanding and power, is to understand that you can step into this part of yourself, which is, the all-knowing God, even though not that we're going to know everything. I don't mean to imply that, but we are in a greater perspective than just our emotions, our thoughts, because our thoughts really dictate a lot of times what our emotions are. So whatever we're thinking, so you can change a thought. If you're thinking, I'm petrified right now, you can change that thought. You acknowledge it, but you can change that thought to, okay, what do I do to solve this situation? It could be an immediate emergency. It could be just a situation in your life. So it's very important to understand that we are the creator and we control things, but we've lost that understanding. Now, there are some real practical things that you can do when it comes to protecting this aura or this force field of energy that is around you. And you can cleanse that part of you simply by using your hands. I mean, we're on an audio now, but you take your hands and you go over your body and you flick off that energy. So you're going through your auric field. The aura is that energy field around us. And if you were to rub your hands together really hard and hold them about an inch apart, you start to feel that energy that you are, because we're more than just our physical body, more even than our emotions or our memories. And we have painful memories. We have things. And when those things come up, we have the ability, when you can tune into your higher consciousness, to say, okay, I recognize this, but I don't have to live it out again. I don't have to live in fear, or I don't have to be angry, or, we can choose a different reaction, but not if we stay in that vibration of what came up. Because, there's no question things trigger us, and we don't think, oh, I think I'll get mad, or I think I'll be hurt. It just appears, right? Comes right up, and there we are. So, but that's where we have the point of choice, of recognizing, okay, and you can talk to yourself. I mean, this is one of the most powerful things that I've ever discovered early in my life, was that part of you, that child, basically, kind of like that inner child, as they say, inside of you. That's the part of you that's the vulnerable part. That's the part of you that grew up and things happened and you were hurt, or you were told different things about yourself, limitations, whatever. Depends on your environment and how you grew up. And the idea of being in your higher consciousness you can heal those things by literally reassuring that part of yourself that you have, Nancy, I have your back. I love you. It doesn't matter. I know you're hurt. I love you. Just like you, what would you do with a child if you had your child was hurt? So that brings back integrity into our being, where we can heal parts of ourself that have been harmed from early life, previous life, however you want to look at it. So this is how people can also use practically this part of yourself by tuning into the higher self, realizing there's a choice at given times. Now, that doesn't mean we don't go through grief. That doesn't mean we don't have grief and sorrow. And you have to allow those emotions. You process those, but you don't have to stay in that consciousness. You know, say you lose a loved one. My brother, when he was 39 years old, was brutally murdered by his best friend, business partner. It was very strange. But you have to process those emotions. But emotions are energy in motion. They're meant to go through you. And you don't live in that vibration the rest of your life. If you do, you're limiting yourself. It's just a simple thing. That's why we have this awareness of a higher self, why it's so important to understand. Once again, the power in you is greater than any other power. And whatever happens, we can deal with it. But we have to nurture ourselves. We have to heal memories. And yes, you can go to a therapist and you can go and all those things are good. But ultimately, we have to love ourselves. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to heal ourselves ultimately. And yes, we have help doing that. We can have a coach. We can have a mentor. We can have a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever it takes. But you can protect also your aura by invoking blue fire or blue energy, which is a color of protection. And if you are spiritual or religious at all, Archangel Michael is one who brings forth that sealing of the aura. You can invoke that presence and have that angel and that energy over you as you go in your car, in your vehicle, as you go through the day. Just invoke it in the morning. Invoke Archangel Michael, be with me, encircle me, protect me, stand where I am. And that helps also to be protected from a lot of the energies that come at us during the day. And another frequency that is a very positive frequency is the violet flame, the violet fire, the violet color, which is actually a frequency that transmutes negative trapped energy to positive. It frees that energy to flow again. And out, just think about it. Our memories are really energy locked into patterns. That's all it is. It's just an energy pattern. And when we can free that energy and heal that heals the pattern. And sometimes we have to forgive. We have to forgive others. We have to forgive ourselves. And think of forgiving as forgiving. We're giving it up. We're releasing that energy. Release it to your higher self. Release it into the frequencies of the qualities of God, the protection, which is the blue and blue frequency, and the transmutation, which is the violet and the purples. So these are practical steps that people can use.
I really, it's interesting because everything you're saying, I'm listening and I'm saying, wow, this particular interview, I'm getting a lot of personal guidance from you because often we doubt ourselves with who we are. And you're just confirming that a lot of the things that I personally feel, like I always feel very protected, for example. And I always do ask myself, the question of, what is going on in the world, but these practical things. And I've watched many people who do like Reiki healing, and I've watched them and they always do where they'll brush away. I'll watch them flick away the energy around someone that they're working on. And again, all of these are very practical things that nobody has to know that you're asking for Archangel Michael to come, or
that's right,
yourself in blue, or to call in any angels, or to imagine the colors and the protection around you. Nobody has to know that you're operating at this higher level. And sometimes I think everybody always tells me how calm I am. And I always kind of laugh, and I think it's just because I always know I am protected, and it doesn't mean I don't feel all of the bombardment, because I do, but at the same time I feel protected. So the book, I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, because you've provided such really good practical step-by-step information about this spiritual connection. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the book, and It's Okay to Be Rich, the Entrepreneur's Guide to Increased Wealth and Personal Mastery. You tell me a little bit more about that and why you wrote this particular book, because it sounds to me like you could have written a lot of different books, but yet you chose It's Okay to Be Rich.
Well, keeping in mind, when I speak of rich in the book and anytime, I'm talking about a rich life in every aspect, not just money, but relationships, health, all of these things, our work, our passion, whatever we're doing. And I find, and this is something I've had to work through myself, I've always been pretty much on a spiritual path. I kind of jokingly say I was born with this mission, and I always felt like there's something I was supposed to do to help the world, help myself, help people. So I realize that people that are on a spiritual path, or even people that are into a lot of these service things like masseuses or Reiki or different things, you want to give your gift, and you do. But there's always this overlay that society has put upon us that, well, you can't be spiritual and rich. Those two don't go together, And no, love of money, money's the root of all evil. And all the things that we've heard, or rich people are, you can look in society right now, there's a real thing about rich people. As if everybody cheated to become rich. That's not true. There's many amazing rich people who give to the world, and it's wonderful. And money, again, is energy. It's a symbol of that energy. And I was just doing an interview yesterday where the person said, money is a blessing. And I said, that's a beautiful thought. Money is a blessing because it helps us not only sustain ourselves, but also to give our gifts to help others even more. And the universe is abundant. And even Jesus said, I have come to bring life, and that more abundantly. It's not, and some people will say, well, Jesus wasn't rich. Well, Jesus was way beyond what we consider rich. Jesus he could tell his disciples, go down to the fish, and in his mouth is a gold coin to pay your taxes. He had many, he was abundant and rich in so many, many ways beyond what we think, of how we think of being rich. So I think of him being very abundant and very rich. He could do what he wanted. He had the mastery. He was demonstrating to us what it means to be a son and daughter of God, because that's what we all are. We are, sons and daughters of God. And they crucified him when he said it. So hopefully we are moving past that time in history. And we can manifest also our sonship, our daughtership to God. So, yes, I'm talking about rich in many aspects of life. And I realize that many people need to get into the right relationship with money, to look at their backgrounds. That's part of what's in the book, to start to shift your thinking. I mean, I start out even talking about in the book, one of the things I say is begin by shifting your thinking. You're already rich. And you think, well, that's crazy. I mean, I'm having trouble paying my bills. But when you start looking at everything's perspective, you start looking at the rest of the world. You look at how people are, living on $1.25 a day. I mean, there's plenty of people who would absolutely love to trade positions with any one of us listening to this podcast. And the point being, we need to recognize what in our life can we be grateful for? What are we rich in? And give thanks for that and really raise your vibration to the point where you can start to attract that riches in every aspect of your life. And yes, you deal with your circumstances. You don't ignore your circumstances. You don't suppress negative energy or emotions. You deal with them, but that's not where you place your creative energy. Your creative energy goes to what you want to be, what you want to create. The universe doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality in this level, in this physical world. So that's why we step into this higher reality. We step into what we want, the life we want. When we talk about the law of attraction and manifesting, we talk about stepping into it, not just saying, oh, wouldn't it be nice? No, I am rich. I am happy. It's like, what's keeping us from being happy? What's keeping us from being the person we want to be? Nothing except us and what we might believe, what we've been taught. Well, and so I wrote the book for myself as well as anybody who's ever had to deal with this kind of issue.
Well, I think that's a really important thing that all of us need to start thinking about the blessings we have in our lives and be grateful about that. And of course, change our stories that we tell ourselves.
Exactly.
If you've ever traveled, and I know you have, you will witness the extreme poverty and the things that we just can't imagine of how other people, millions of people around the world live with a whole lot of nothing in their
That's right.
lives. And so we are fortunate. So if somebody wants to connect with you and find out more, what's the best way to do that?
Probably to my website, because from there you can get everything. Incidentally, they can go to my website at nancyshowalter.com. And from there, they can get a free copy of my ebook. And they're welcome to have that as a free gift. And I go through the book. It's very interesting. You talk about the story, because that's one of my chapters. What's your story? And you can change your story. So anyway, a lot of fun things in the book, and I think people will enjoy it. So nancyshowalter, just my name.com. And from there, you can find my podcast, the book. I also have a free course on the power of your words and different things that people can tune into.
Well, I'm really excited. I'm going to go get the book, It's Okay to Be Rich, because I think we all need that reminder. And also check out the podcast. I mean, just the title alone, I thought just made me want to listen. And you just have a lot of really good information about how to connect with the divine. And I think the message today was so powerful about how we really can change our lives, change our stories, and become whoever we want to be and manifest a positive life for ourselves. So you just have such a inspiring message. So with that, before I let you go, Nancy, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I think I know you have the word of the day sometimes. And so I wanted to say again, my word of the day would be integrity. And I'm talking about internal as well as external. To be who you really are, have everything in alignment so that you're not having warring within your own members, so to speak, because peace on earth begins with peace inside each one of us. And we can't really expect the world to be something that we are not. So we want to grow and become integrity with our higher self.
Wow, that's a beautiful way to end today's segment. So everyone, have integrity. This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.